business owners, this is difficult. This is not easy. We don't pick the easy path in life. We pick the hardest path, right? Which is doing it ourselves.
There is no days off when you're an entrepreneur.
Welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs, growing 1% everyday podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs podcast, where we get to discuss how to grow 1% every day in both business and self. Today, we have a very niche marketer in the cannabis space that is going to outline how she's helping brands break through the compliance wall within the cannabis industry to get her clients on major TV, major streaming channels, and help explode their growth. Today, we have Kerri Accardi from the 420 Media Agency joining us, and super excited to dive into this compliant restricted category. Thank you, Kerri, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You are in a very difficult battle today. The structure that you are facing right now is an ever molding and ever changing ideology in the space. And it's actually something that marijuana has been a Schedule 1 narcotic now since the 40s, the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And the space is just opening up and giving opportunities for new businesses and new ideas and ideologies to enter into the marketing. And you are spearheading that practice by helping your businesses break through this compliance wall that we're seeing. Can you give us a little background on kind of how you got into the space, how you created this agency, and what you're doing today to help your clients?
Sure. So very, very long story short, I left New York December 10th, 2013 on a mission to educate the world about cannabis after my aunt died. So I started in California and, met lawyers, lobbyists, patients. And in January of 14, I called a former colleague and said I was going to start at that time a video production company to showcase the plant for the miracle she is. Did he want to be involved? He did. Fast forward, built the business plan, have a big family, went to my cousins in Portland, Oregon, met someone. It was Super Bowl 14, met someone there who owned a dispensary. He was also an MS patient. Flew my partner at the time out from New York, and we started filming. So we were getting testimonials, tours, taking photos of the plant back in 14. There was a social media called Vine at the time. So we were doing 6-second videos with memes of herb and like Obama's voice over it. The war on drugs is an utter failure, all this kind of crazy stuff. Jumped into it. Ended up going to Washington State and filmed their first legal cannabis tour, had such synergy there. We moved there. Super long story short, and a lot of craziness in the cannabis industry. I started a company called 420 Media. And so some of our milestones are filming and creating that first tour, producing. And then we had an agency of record deal with CBS back in 2015 and 16 to bring content to them. They reneged on that deal 1 week after the election. So that's going into a documentary now. Fast forward, I had other TV networks contacting me. So I went back to them. One was Cron 4 in Northern California. One was Spectrum. They were both telling me, yes, yes, yes. Instead of wasting any more money, I sent them both 4 videos, one with full cannabis, one with nothing at all. Give me boundaries. Cron 4 pulled everything off, and we went forward with Spectrum. We ended up airing one of the first commercials during prime time on History, Bravo, and Discovery 2018. And then we aired again during the Super Bowl 2019. To back up, I left on this mission because my aunt died. So the whole journey is a very personal mission to get this information out about plant medicine, cannabis in particular. So when we aired that commercial during on History, Bravo, Discovery, it was 5 years to the day she passed away. Then we subsequently aired during the Super Bowl in the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico in 2019. And the person in that PSA-like commercial is a former commissioner of agriculture named Positive Nelson. And then in 2021, we launched a streaming TV channel on Roku, Apple, Amazon Fire, Android TV, Sony, Panasonic, Sharp, TCL, most of the smart TVs. The whole time throughout this past 10 years, I've had people filming. So we have 10 years of professionally filmed content, over 500 people sharing their stories, from patients to pioneers. There's some people that aren't even with us anymore. And so I feel like this vision, I have a real vision of this, the narrative of cannabis when it became legal to where we are now, which is like another wild story. In like you said, people are coming in to advertise, but yet it's still on a Schedule I drug. So we're in this crazy place, and crazier with the election because now everyone's for cannabis apparently. And then right now I'm working on, because of the craziness, I'm working on this really cool project we filmed a couple years ago, and we're going back into filming now. I talked a lot though, so let you ask me questions and I can tell you about it.
Kerri, I love it. I mean, honestly, just a track record of success and doing things that most people in your industry didn't seem fathomable, right? To be able to talk to these major publications, these major TV channels, and go toe to toe with them and push the boundaries of compliance. And, medical marijuana is the category that everyone's talking about now, but this has happened over and over again throughout the decades. I mean, the prohibition is a great example, not so much advertising on that one, but still the fighting against legislation for something that, I guess alcohol would be a bad example there, but in this example, something good for the people, right? Good for the actual people. So I love what you're doing. Love the fight. Love the empathy and the emotion that you have around not just your background of this story, but just for the product itself and the opportunity that's giving for your clients. So my question is, I mean, you're really in the space today of helping grow businesses. You're working with these cannabis derivative companies that are focused on growing and scaling, and your focus is to help them get out to the world and promote them. It's a very difficult category where you're in, and there's other companies that are doing it too. But what do you see outside of government restrictions? What do you see as the biggest problem within your industry when trying to help out these businesses? Does their understanding of the business seem to be a little off? Does the world's understanding of the product seem to be a little off? Where do you see to be the biggest issue that you're really solving with your company?
So both of those things. So the second one you said is the world's understanding of the product off. Yes, completely off. Stigma is alive and well. And then there's patients now coming out that were stigmatized in government and it's kind of legal, but it's not. And so there's a lot of confusion for anyone, even people in this space. And then working within the space, and like I said, I've been in this since 2013, 14. And so to come into a space that has literally been hiding themselves away from any kind of media, and then trying to explain to them that they should give me or my colleagues money to put them all over the world, it's just on the psyche, it's a lot. Right. And so it's really understanding, and this goes into the consumers too, or the curious people. It's on a psyche thing, right? Because we have to understand where people have been and where they are and what their story is. And that just goes both the business and their product to reach the consumer. It's the same story, right? It has to fit like that lock, right? If this lotion is going to make your pain go away, then you should know about it. Right. And so it's getting those stories together. And I think when it comes to cannabis, it's grown tremendously. I'll tell you that. It's grown tremendously in one way where people, like yourself are coming in, and there's marketers coming into the space. The problem with that is they don't understand the space. They don't understand what these legacy people have been through, what these families have been through, what, facing prison for your life or being in prison at this point, or someone you know or love. And so it's really, I think, fundamentally is understanding where someone is first, right? Where their brand is. So in that respect, I think it's real easy. It's 5 W's: who, what, where, when, why, right? Give us something so we have a place to start. Right. And then within that, I like to just kind of do that again and again until we get to that space where we're really clear about this is what the product does. This is who it's going to help. This is why it's helped. This is whatever their assets have been, or their testimonials, or anything to kind of create that story. And then understand, what are our options in reaching people, and what are the budgets? The issue in cannabis is there's not a lot of money. Contrary to what people believe, Government is taking a lot of that money. Packaging is taking a lot of that money. Taxes is taking a lot of that money. And there's only so much money. And so when it comes to marketing, because we're still not a legal space, this isn't even something they could write off, right? And so you have to justify. If I give you $100, I got to make some money back, right? If I give you $1,000, whatever that is. And so it's, again, finding that relationship in clarity to somebody in this space, which is, it's a journey. It's really like, it's a journey. I'm into the creative part. I like just, let's get creative. I think we can get out there. I think people are more open now than they've ever been. People like yourself who want to understand and share with their audience what different agencies are doing, but really in their niche as well. And plant medicine's where it's at if we want to have a healthy country and world.
Yeah, a healthy future. The homeopathic direction, I think, has really been lackluster over the last about 20 years when petroleum companies and the medical facilities kind of got together and found out how to make the most amount of money, right? But that's a conversation for a different time for sure. Let me dive a little bit in who you're helping, right? So obviously there's a lot of different companies within this space. There's fly-by-night CBD companies that are trying to ride the wave. There's companies that, as you said, that have been around for a very, very long time and now trying to solidify the professionalism within the space of cannabis. So who is your perfect client? You're obviously going after much bigger publications, much bigger media buys and representation of that. Do you have an ideal client that you're trying to work with? Or do you know someone that if they walked into your front door and contacted you to work with them, they would be perfect and you'd be able to knock it out of the park?
Multiple. So Kerri, personally, I feel like I can help a lot of people in general because of my knowledge and my connections within the space, even in a consulting manner, whether 420 Media are connected is right for them or not. Because, and the flip side of marketing is you don't want to go out there and put your brand out there if you can't support those sales. So, there's all these other variables. As far as who our clients are, right now I'm working on a really cool project. And so this one's a really open and big project. It's a holiday series. And so what we're doing is we're going to launch this series, which I'll tell you about in a second. And then simultaneously, we're launching a pop-up shop. So think like a digital mall on the channel where brands can showcase their products and services, their branding, their colors, their messaging using video content. So tours, testimonials, commercials, whatnot. And then we use QR codes, scan here to learn more, order, etc. And we're going to put that on TV this holiday season in alignment with this really cool series called The High Holidays. And so a couple of years ago, Santa Claus was super stressed out because all these people wanted cannabis, hemp, and CBD products. And he doesn't have them in the North Pole. He doesn't even know much about them. And how is he going to deliver them without getting arrested with all these laws? And he's venting to his elf. And his elf turns around and says, Santa, I used to be known as the elf with the top shelf. Do you want to learn more about cannabis? And he did. And so the elf called his friend, Tim Blake, who is up in Mendocino and the founder of the Emerald Cup, which is an event that's just celebrated their 20th anniversary. And Santa went up to Mendocino and he learned about the history of legalization and he learned how to roll a joint and he learned about patience and he learned all this information. And he goes back to the elf and he's like, oh my gosh, we've been lied to. And the elf was so happy and says, Santa, we've been waiting for this moment. And he goes inside and he comes back out and he gives him a green suit and he became Sativa Santa. And then we went and filmed in Las Vegas at one of the biggest events called MJ BizCon. And Santa met patients and brands and people that have been in prison before. And so he's really got a lot of information. So this year, we're going to get him. He's stuck in the North Pole this year. So the elf is on the ground working with brands so they can tell Santa about the project and blah, 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 their products. And so this December, we're going to have the first 2 episodes air. And then we're going to have 12 days of holidays, which will highlight different states and their laws and products and services within the characters of the series. And then it's a fiction nonfiction. And then we're going to have a finale that encompasses Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Christmas, and lessons on the end.
Kerri, I don't think you said earlier that you're a fan of creative. That might have been an understatement. That was an incredible story breakdown. And I'm assuming you're fabricating a lot of this. You're developing the initial story that will allow.
No. It's a 2-hour movie already. It has already been filmed. And so this year, while I was in pre-production for something else, I realized it was just better to come to this for one more episode and push the other project to the new year. And so, no, we actually have 30 people in it. The highholidays.com, you'll see information. There's real Santa. You're gonna crack up now that you've seen it. Now that you've heard me, because it sounds a little wild, and then you see it and you're going to go, oh my God, it's wow, it's real. And the elf is a 6'5" or 6'3" black guy with dreads.
Okay, I'm cracking up over
By the way, and I'm like barely 5'3". So it was fun, directing this and running around. Really fun. You'll see a lot of photos in that website, and there's video. And so you'll see what I'm saying.
I want to make a point here for the entrepreneurs and the business owners listening to this podcast right now. In some spaces, people look at marketing, and what they try to do is they try to go to their nearest competitor and they try to steal exactly what they're doing. Or maybe they have a conceptual ideology off of a single offer that they want put together in a promotion. What Kerri's doing here for a complete industry is setting up the tone of the why, setting up the story, setting up the empathy that will lead to all of the other businesses, that every customer that sees these videos and watches this content now becomes a top of funnel interested customer for all of the businesses within the cannabis space. So what she's doing is, with her team there at the 420 Media Agency, she's developing assets that will resonate with consumers worldwide because of the services that General Cannabis does, a true top of funnel approach into the market that will trickle down and support all of the clients and non-clients within the cannabis space. What you're doing here, Kerri, is true top of funnel message based marketing, and it's super powerful. But your animation and how excited you are about the story just gets me pumped up. I'm definitely going to check that out after this. But I want to dive into a little bit more of what makes you so powerful. And I think what makes individuals really powerful within the media space or the business owner space is the trials and tribulations that they go through, the failures that they go through that make them who they are today. And I can guarantee with the space that you're in, you've gone through a lot of challenges. Is there any particular challenge or maybe difficulty that you faced in the creation of this agency that you'd like to share to the listeners that they might resonate with, or was something that changed the way that you do business?
I think, the lessons are beyond, and I've adapted and changed the whole time because I didn't know business. I knew I was a producer before. I'm a trained actress. I'm a director and editor, and I know that. And so I'm always changing and adapting to what works. But I would say, I don't know if this is the right answer to that question, but I think it's important to say that understanding your why, for me, I had some really hard times. Money, people didn't pay 6-figure money, big stuff early on, and reputational stuff that, would normally involve lawyers. But who wants to spend money on lawyers when you're trying to build? And so for me, understanding my why always kept me grounded. And so my why is so personal because it was my aunt who passed away. It was my best friend. And so in the hardest times of all this, even when CBS reneged and all this stuff, because that's big stuff. People think you lie, all this crazy stuff. Thank God I've documented everything. But I would close my eyes, or I close my eyes now, and I see my aunt in the hospital. And there's nothing harder than that. Because if she was in the hospital and they were able to give her cannabis medicine, I think it would have turned out different. I know it would have, based on my experience. At minimal on suffering, a minimal about eating, on maximum, she would be sitting here right next to me on this interview. And so I think no matter what, mine's super personal, but I think for anyone that's coming into this business is understanding why you even did it, because none of us has to start a business. We can go get a job, usually pays more, get benefits. You don't have to think about it all the time. You don't have to work on your day. There is no days off when you're an entrepreneur. So there's all these other things that people don't realize. But when you have that fire in you, and no one else can see why that's burning, but that's your life, right? That's our souls. That's what keeps us going and what we're here to do. And so I think that for me, the power of plant medicine is so strong. And I literally remember telling my aunt, because she was a paralegal and I have a big family, but she was like, "But Kerr, I'm going to give you guys some money or whatever." And like I said, we had a big family, and she's a paralegal. So it was like a little money. And I looked her in the eyes, like bawling my face up. And I said, "You know what I'm going to do with your money? I'm going to take it to go educate the world so they don't have to suffer and die like I'm watching you." So that's stuff that makes life important. It could be just raising your child. It could be whatever it is, but whatever your why is, know it. Otherwise you are going to get knocked this way, that way, upside down. And then and then build that foundation. Don't worry about what other people think or what it looks like, whatever. Build a solid foundation. So when that storm hits, the business storms that hit, then you're solid. Just like a house would be located with their solid foundation versus not, right? And so I think those are really important.
Kerri, I mean, so powerful. I mean, I can't express one, the love that you represent for your family, the love you represent for your aunt, and how that really resembles your why and what you do every day. But to hold that into a position that allows you to constantly push for your clients, push government registration, regulations, to push the opportunities, to push every single day. As you say, as business owners, this is difficult. This is not easy. We don't pick the easy path in life. We pick the hardest path, right? Which is doing it ourselves. So I'm going to say, from sitting on this side of the camera, doing an incredible job. I can see from the website, I can see from the previous content, you have not only broken the mold in the cannabis industry, but you're also creating new opportunities every single day and doing it with style, pizzazz, a bit of flair, and some amazing storytelling on the back end of it. Let's move into the future a little bit. I'm curious, this is big for you in your industry because it's the next few months will really determine what happens across your industry. Depending on who is elected as president, what they decide to move forward with in the cannabis category. But where do you see the cannabis industry in 5 years, right? Whatever president that we get or not, do you see open regulation so that we are able to advertise it just like a regular medical product? Do you see it coming into the position where it is really a medical product and we're not seeing normal dispensaries and things of that nature, and it's only based off government entities supporting and selling the product, which there's a lot of money to be made. I can see that being a possibility. But for you, living and breathing this industry every single day, where do you see the next 5 years going?
I hope there's both. It is medicine. At the end, it is medicine. We have an endocannabinoid system and receptors for the plant on a molecular level. This is important for people to understand because it creates balance in our body and helps with all sorts of things, from PTSD to cancer to mental stuff. So understanding that, and like I said, I mean, if my aunt would have been offered cannabis medicine, maybe her life would have been different. With that said, pharma always screws things up, like the government, and they only care about the profit, and that's the problem. They don't care about the patients. Otherwise, people wouldn't keep getting cancer. This is a business, and people have to understand pharma is a business. And when pharma goes in and controls the medical schools and tells you to learn about what pharma pill to take, versus your endocannabinoid system, largest regulating system in our body. Viewers, go look it up, ECS. That's a problem. So I don't know. I don't know. I hope I think it does matter in presidents as far as the information. I don't think I'm not going to get into politics, and this is a wild world right now. But I do believe the plant should be descheduled, not rescheduled. I think if it takes it to a Schedule 3, again, we're bringing in the lobbyists, the corporate money, the cigarette money, the pharmaceutical, and so I think that I pray that this stays open. And with that said, we need regulations for consumers. I don't think everyone's the best player. I don't even know if they know how to be. I don't know if they know how to be. And so you don't put a baseball player on a professional team without years of training to lead up to it. And so I think that I hope that as a country and world, but as a country, we can recognize our health and what's important first before we're letting lobbyists and corporations and stock market take over our health. And that's why, for me, it's important to empower people, because when they're empowered, it's how we got here this far. Because when you can take a plant, and maybe it's not cannabis, maybe it's mushrooms, and I don't mean magic, although those are great. I mean lion's mane. I mean reishi. Right? We can go out and eat our plants and compared to these pharmaceuticals, I think information to me and just getting it out and feeding it personal to people, because they have to go to their government. It's just the way our country works. And if they reschedule, we're going to be in a different crazy land. Like, we're already in crazy land. And as watching 10 years right now, I mean, I got to tell you, back in 14, 15, 16, I had the most amazing products I've ever tried, the most amazing people and real healers that were bringing this to patients that have gotten run out by stock markets, by corporate companies, and bullshit products. They don't help people. And so that's a problem. And I want to help those brands, those products that can help people. And let's bring them to where they belong.
Oh, Kerri, I love it. I mean, honestly, your motivation, your animation, your overall characteristics around this category for the business owners and entrepreneurs listening to this right now. One thing I really want you to take it, even if you're not in the cannabis space, this is true top of funnel advertising. This is true new customer acquisition advertising. This is true educational content that get people into a funnel that strives for your business. Most companies that are in the home improvement space, the restaurant space, and things of that nature, you don't have to fight this fight because the world's been fighting it for you for many, many years. People know why they need a new roof. People know why they need to eat at an Italian restaurant. Those things are basic. A lot of times new business owners come in and they think that their product is well known in the market. You need to take some advice from what you're hearing here from Kerri and from 420 Media Group of how to really approach top of funnel. It's an educational, informational. It's to help customers at the most epitome that they can without even focusing on a sale. Kerri here has never mentioned one thing about acquisition of customers, costs, overall growth. She did mention a little bit about margin so you guys can understand how that industry works. But in general, she only is talking about how to educate consumers, AKA to get them into a pipeline of purchasing. Kerri, I mean, super. And from a man that's standing here, 30 years old, I've watched this turmoil process within the cannabis industry now firsthand. I've watched people and families that had fathers and mothers that smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day now not smoke so many cigarettes in the world and maybe move to other categories throughout my lifetime of progression. And just to see the amount of bull crap that the industry has had to deal with. Let's not be twisted. Reefer madness, what destroyed the ideology of cannabis. And that was back in the 40s where they said if you smoked, you were going to rape and murder. So the way that this has been outlawed in general has been a crazy process from the get-go. And I believe the fight that you're fighting is so powerful. I have a little cousin that has autism. I have another one that has seizures. Both had used the products before to their benefit, right? So it's the fight you're fighting. Hopefully I can watch you on the next Super Bowl commercial in the US, right? And see you actually crushing it. Love to hear TV and the content that you're publishing out there to really get that education out and to entertain people. That sounds super funny with the Santa Claus and the 6'2" elf.
It's really good. It's real. It's real. That's the cool thing about that one is like everyone in that was real other than Santa and the elf playing those characters. And so the real story about someone that's been in jail for 30 years, the real story about from patients, the real story of legalization. And we're going to bring in some East Coast stuff in different states this time. So I'm pumped on that. Thank you so much for your compliments.
Yeah, no problem whatsoever. Just being candid, right? So this is my last question before a little bonus question, but this is one of my favorites. For the listeners out there, my question to you, Kerri, what is your Kaizen? So for the listeners, Kaizen is a Japanese business term that means 1% progression every day in both business and in self. So it's the acts, it's the efforts that we put out there to constantly improve ourselves mentally and physically. For me personally, I'm a gym nut. I'm a professional athlete on the weekends. I constantly move a lot. And then when it comes to the marketing side of this, I am a student of life. And I believe that I'm the dumbest one in the room every single time. So I'm constantly reading books, absorbing podcasts, watching YouTube videos. But in your field, it's very difficult to know where real information is. So for you, Kerri, how do you find your Kaizen? What do you do to stay on top of yourself, both physically, mentally, for your personal life and for your business? And for the listeners out there, especially the ones that are in the cannabis space, how do you stay on top of the changing environment that is the cannabis?
Yeah, it's a lot. For myself, I do a lot of yoga. So that's my, I used to tell people, or I still do, yoga and cannabis have kept me out of jail. And so I stay with that. That's what I do. And I think I'm a big believer in energy and that we create our lives by our thoughts. And so being really conscious of that is very important for me to be clear in what we're creating. Marketing wise and staying in touch, I feel really lucky because I have been in this space for a long time. I have a lot of access to people. And I watch a lot of podcasts, I read a lot. I tell people I'm kind of like a stalker. I will check you out and who you are. And I want to know because I want to align with good people. And life's got right now is a lot of craziness, especially in this space. And so, just daily active being, LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram stuff, but really like having conversations too. And leading the way. Like I want to get the information just like we are with the series to put it out. So it's really just making sure we're fluid in that. And that's just, based on what we're working on usually in the projects and the states and stuff like that. But it's constant and it's always going.
Always going. Yoga and cannabis kept you out of jail. That is hilarious. That is so fun. Okay, my last bonus question for you, Kerri. I'm curious where your approach is in this. Have you ever heard of the book Atlas Shrugged?
Yes, I was gifted that book many years ago.
Awesome. So super big book, right? As you know, the massive
big, yeah.
The concept of it is incredible, right? It's saying that all us business owners, the ones listening to this podcast now, you, Kerri, myself, what happens if we just stopped running businesses? And the book Atlas Shrugged, if you guys have never read it, explains how us as business owners really move the world forward. Everything that we do in the creation of these companies, from if you're creating a home improvement company to creating a restaurant to creating what we have with marketing agency and consultations, we help the world go forward by building these structures and constantly pushing them every single day. So my question to you is, what happens if we just gave up? If you as a business owner, me as a business owner, we just shrugged it off and said, okay, we're done with our company, it's all over, and everybody in the world did that, what would be the first business that you would create tomorrow?
If every
business is gone. The restaurants are still there. The infrastructure is still there. The home improvement equipment's still out there flowing around. There's just nobody running business.
But we're going to create the business?
You can create anything.
Oh, probably I would stay in the plant medicine space, but I would make my location probably in the Caribbean, on the beach, full on studio. I love what I do now, but I would migrate that to, connect to Starlink. So we made sure all the media kept working. I build a hospice for people for plants. I would extend it out like a whole island of weed and plants for people.
Kerri, I love that. For the listeners out there, especially listen, if you're in the cannabis space whatsoever, right? Make sure you reach out to Kerri. Kerri for the 420 group. I'll make sure we put that in the descriptions below. They're going to be her content information, her link to her website. Go check it out. Reach out to Kerri and connect with her directly, especially if you're in the cannabis space. For her to have an answer of like, if everything would just fall apart, what would I do? I would do the same exact thing because I love what I do. This is the type of people you need in your corner. If you are specifically in the cannabis space and you're looking to help break through the legalities, if you're looking to help to represent yourself in a different way, if you're looking to be a part of national recognition on both streaming channels and major TV, Kerri Accardi here from the 420 Media Group is the only one breaking through that compliance. Kerri, how could these people find you? If they want to get connected with you, what's the best way to reach out?
Well, one correction, it's 420 Media Agency, just in case there's a group out there. Although we have a trademark, so they shouldn't be. My name is Kerri Accardi, so you can find me on LinkedIn or most of the other socials. Email KERRI@420media.agency. And 420media.agency is our website. And then we have connected TV, and that's connected with an A like cannabis. So it's CANNECTED.TV. It's where you can find information and download links or look at us on the App Store and stuff like that.
Awesome. Kerri, so thank you so much for your time. If you guys have finished this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Again, thank you so much, Kerri. Appreciate you.
Thank you.